body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. Rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body. I just get paid. I want to play. The vibes is right. I wanna hug up tight. No time to waste. I wanna work my waist. So come on now, babes. Give me a taste. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins firm.
Hi, well, hey, guess what? Good evening. My name is Mark Benschop. If you give me a quick minute, I'm just making sure that my makeup is on, my eyelash is on, everything is on. Everything indeed. Good evening to all, every single one of you. Again, Lewis is on with us tonight, and whilst I prepare to switch studios, let me say thanks to Jermaine Figueroa and Coretta McDonald, two vibrant, very active members of Parliament. Thank you so much for that show. 8 to 9, the PPP cannot sleep because of social media, because of other media entities. Of course, you get Benschop Radio, 107.1 FM on the ground. You can tune into your radios and listen to us. Many of you listening to this program right now, good evening to all of you. And those of you on social media, wherever you are right now, good evening, pleasant good evening. You should really see my face, but I have the makeup artist is just here, just putting on some makeup, fixing my. You guys are just going to see what I look like this evening. Aren't you all excited about that? I know. And you should see how Lincoln looks tonight as well. It looks as though he was prepared. He went, he got a haircut. He is all decked out this evening with, apart from attire, with lots and lots of information for all of you. And look, thank you all so much for sharing the live. You know I don't beg you guys. I just don't beg at all. I don't believe in that. If you want to share it, share it. But we hope that you do share it, right? In fact, we want you to share it. Good evening to all of you. My name is Mark Benschop. We're going to rock and roll. It is straight up. Thank you all. Thank you so much. I got it. I got it. Don't get too excited. Let me fix it because, we hire people to get this job done, to fix me up, to ensure that I am ready to rock and roll with you guys. We got somebody in the studio also looking after Lincoln, fixing him up, right? Hey, lots of things happening, but lots of serious things. Let's get to what our executive producer has in mind for me to discuss with you this evening. To begin with, this is bad news. Really, really bad news for the people of Guyana. Day before yesterday, 9 persons died as a result of COVID-19. Yesterday, about 2 or 3 persons died as a result of COVID-19. Today, thus far, 8 persons have died as a result of COVID-19. And the regime, the installed regime, keeps hiding and hiding and hiding and hiding and hiding and hiding the truth from you. They feel that once they hide the truth from you, they can get millions upon millions of dollars whilst they're pretending that they're fighting this battle, COVID-19 pandemic. The truth is they're not. Now, let me show you guys this. I want to tell y'all something about this institution, this COVID-19 hospital at Liliendal Hospital in Liliendal. Now, they can say all they want about the coalition regime, the coalition government. The coalition government saved hundreds and hundreds of lives in that country as a result of this COVID-19 hospital. But you know what? The PPP, the installed PPP regime, doesn't give a damn about this hospital. They have not purchased any sort of equipment, beds, and all these different things. And so you have the ICU unit. Well, in fact, the ICU, they have had the other night 30 something, maybe 40 patients in ICU at a COVID-19 hospital with only 2 nurses. They don't treat these patients with anything. They give them injections, they give them other stuff for other illnesses, but they do not treat for COVID-19 at all. In fact, according to information, they just do not know how to treat or what to treat the patients with. And as a result of some of these doctors, I'm not knocking all of the doctors there. I know the nurses work there, work the hell off in order to get the job done. Kudos to those nurses, not only at the COVID hospital, but all of the hospitals throughout Guyana. Kudos to them. But the regime doesn't care about COVID victims. That is why they want them to go back to school. Priya Manichan wants schools to be reopened because they do not care about the COVID-19 pandemic. They just don't give a damn about it. All right, guess what? I want to get into Lincoln Lewis. I know you guys want to see Lincoln Lewis. You really do want to see him, right? He is going to be on just a few more minutes. Here we go. Valda Lawrence, according to the news, she is now the acting leader of the People's National Congress Reform, the leader of the leaders of the don't know how that spells to the PNCR, whether she is officially going to throw her hat into the ring to say she is running for the leadership of the party. If she does, she is the only woman that we know of at the moment, because no date has been set for Congress. Now that she's the acting leader, we don't know whether she's going to set a date for Congress or she's going to, because she has always said that Congress should be held. Now she's the acting leader. Let's see what happens from here, whether she is going to set a date for the Congress and whether she will declare herself a candidate. We don't know of any other female candidates. But I'll tell you guys this, though. I don't know how Aubrey Norton is feeling this evening, but it appears that the race is going to heat up. It is going to heat up. I don't know whether this guy His Excellency, President David Otter Granger, is going to be in the race or not. But I'll whisper to you guys. I'll whisper something to you guys. I doubt whether he's going to be in the race. So that simply means I have to look for someone else. I just let the cat out of the bag there, right? I have to look for someone else. Who will I be embracing? I don't know as yet. Joseph Harmon is set to be, that is not Joseph Harmon. He is set to be out of the country for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. I don't know. But according to information, this guy here, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford, will be acting as the opposition leader with the duties. That's accurate. But I thought I'd throw his photograph up there. Lots of interesting things ahead. Lots and lots of interesting things ahead. All of you, good evening. Lemon and his crew locked away in their basement watching this show right now. Good evening to you guys, Lemon and others. And now, let me say this. I heard that a mother and her son, her 23 or 24-year-old son, died in their basement. They drowned in their basement in Queens, New York. I don't know. That's really, really sad news. Lincoln Lewis. Lincoln Brandon Lewis. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mark. To the listeners.
Good to see you.
Beautiful audience out there.
Thank you. Good to
reactive.
Good to see you.
I want to say good night to them also. I'm glad for inviting me here, Mark. I want to know why you invite me. And since you have invited me, then let's get it going.
Oh, well, good. Sure. Let's get it going. We want to hear you a little louder, man. We want to hear more of you. Your volume seems to be a little low. We know this is not the Lincoln. We certainly do know that. Pump your volume up a little and let's go with this hype show. Lots of energy there.
I'm here, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Lincoln, I noticed people already addressing you as Brandon. They seem to like that name, Brandon, over Lincoln. But that's okay. Lincoln or Brandon. Lincoln, what is happening? You saw, good to have you. Good to see you. You saw this report, sir. We'll get to the political stuff. You saw this here. 8 more persons died, man. What is happening on the ground? We know that the PPP regime is out. It's beyond their control. They just can't handle it. They're incompetent. What is happening?
Mark, the fact that if this issue is about competence, or this issue is a malicious act by a group of people who don't care a damn about other people. They are just interested in making money on the backs of the citizens. You know, they may have tunnel vision. Their intent is to make money, make at all costs, and to hell with the masses. This is what we have, because when you make money, you get ill, you can jump on the plane and you can go to Miami, or you go to New York, or you go to Paris to look for better conditions for your better services. So we allow this here to run down. But let me say to you, let me make this point from the outset. There are some people who, without even listening to what or reading the trade union's position on this whole issue of COVID, they have been making some very ill-informed statements. Let me say to you from the outset that personally, and even the trade union, we're not against vaccination. What we are against is imposition outside of what is prescribed in legislation and so forth. We believe that if you allow anybody to violate laws, the Constitution and laws, and more so, transgress the rights of citizens in one sphere, that you're contributing to the violation in other spheres. Let me give you a specific example. The government says that everybody must take vaccination, must be vaccinated. The politicians saying that, in fact, you must be vaccinated. But the chief medical officer who deals with science, tell people who have underlying conditions and what have you, should be excluded. What is absent in this situation is pre-screening. They are screening people. Like yesterday, you heard that 2 elderly persons died of while they were taking the vaccine. They contracted COVID. They died and what have you. They never pre-screen these people. And this come about where these people ended up doing this because the government took the position, the politicians saying to people, they can't go in, some of these people, they can't go in and get a pension unless they are vaccinated or they get a test. Who can pay for the test? The pensioners there? Who getting $30,000 and $25,000? Where they were paid from? The government has to approach this thing differently. The politicians have to approach this thing differently. This is brute force and ignorance. And this is what is called conscience for. Let me switch to you and show you what happened. Last year, the government said, the President Ali said, you know what he said? The public servants will not receive a wage increase this year. But the Constitution and the Trade Union Recognition and Certification, the Trade Union Recognition and Certification law says that you have to negotiate with the unions. But you decided that you're not going to do that. You will not negotiate them. Then this year you're saying they will get an increase retroactive to January, but you're talking to the trade unions. This is in contravention of the law. If we sit down as a trade unions and allow these people to get through with what they're doing here now, we are equally contributing to them taking a position to give workers what they want, when they want, and if they want. That is the problem that we have. And it's a real problem. Real in the sense that you are dealing with people who do not care about laws, rules, Simonic principles, or any damn thing, as long as they make money. That's our concern now.
And that is a good concern. That is a good concern.
Look where you are. You have had the former magistrate, Sullivan. Look at that case. Look at that case. The man, they took him to the Georgetown Hospital. The man had breathing problems. It is known, it is accepted that when people have breathing problems, there are symptoms that life is something is serious about their case. They push the man around and he died before he can get medical. The politicians are putting you in a position where one may believe that we are not a civilized society. The chief medical officer is saying one thing, what it is, what the rules are, guided by science. The politicians disregarding what the chief medical officer is saying and throwing it and bullying people around the place. This is the concern this is a serious concern that we have. As such, we shall challenge them wherever necessary.
You know, and people, thank you so much, Lincoln Lewis, if you're now joining us. All of you, good evening, whichever part of the world you are. Veteran trade unionist Lincoln Lewis is with us this evening, talking about COVID-19 and the government's, the regime, the installed PPP regime's incompetence at every level. The GTUC and the GPSU, I believe, they have filed a court order to block this mandatory, vaccination on citizens. Kudos to you guys, Lincoln. Kudos to your team. Kudos to the unions. I have a quick question before we move on to other political matters and so forth. Hopefully, we will get Lincoln Lewis back. Sorry about that. We'll try to get Mr. Lewis back. We will try to get him back as quickly as possible, because I have a question for Lincoln. Kudos for this COVID-19 fight that the union has embarked on. You have been in this fight from day one, especially exposing the incompetence of the installed PPP regime. This is a legitimate question, though. People like the fight that the union is putting up now. But some folks might be questioning, why didn't the unions put up the fight when 3,000 plus workers have lost their jobs? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but that's a legitimate concern.
Let me say to you, Mark, and the listeners, I have tried my utmost to have those workers mobilized. I've gone even on this same channel and put the notice out that he can come to my office at the Crystal River College. I set a date for meetings. I said dates for meetings, in fact, more than one date, and nobody turned up. There are people who I know, when we call them, you know what they said? They're afraid that they will not get a job in the future in this country, that the government will blackmail them, even if they go to the private sector. So it will just mob it fear in the society. I can't go there, or the union can't go there and make and ask for and representing people without the requisite authority. Because in each case, there were different letters being given to different people. We have an interest in advancing drugs. And I can't understand until now why so many people are so much afraid of the government that they will discriminate against them. You know, enough of come out. I want them to understand, the workers to understand, you don't have to do anything to be discriminated against by this government. Some will be discriminated against based on how they look. Some will be discriminated against because somebody perceived them to be a member of another political party. They will be discriminated against because they may express another opinion besides what the government will like to hear. So I've heard this before, that the union did not come out in defense of it. I went to the public service. I engaged the leadership of the public service. And we agreed that we will have had the first meeting at the public service union headquarters. Sent out through you, Mark. Your station was one that carried the and nobody turned up. This is the fact. And I tell you what, I've not shirked from the responsibility as a leader in seeking to pull the leadership of the unions together to talk about it. Every worker has a responsibility to join a union of its choice. Many of the people or persons who were dismissed, even them didn't join union. But we see it as a matter that involves a class of workers who are perceived to be supportive of the previous government, or a class of workers who they feel the government feel they can kick around. That's the problem we have.
Well, you know, we know of that fear fact. We know that.
I've been able to help you.
Yeah, to some extent you have done just that. And we know of that fear factor. We have lived through it for the 23 plus years of the PPP, discriminated against, persecuted, and suffered. And firsthand we can speak of. You have gone through that struggle with them for many, many years. Glad that you have made it out and still shining. However, for the 3,000 plus persons who were fired as a result of this racist and vindictive attitude by the installed PPP regime, who seem more bent on exporting catfish and gilbaca. That is all they're concerned about, exporting catfish and gilbaca. We are hearing news now that of the 180 something, 80 something diplomats, foreign service officers, a lot of them will be sent packing. Some of them will, of course, rotation. Are you concerned that people will be targeted? People will be victimized? Do you see that as the case? Yeah, Lincoln's internet. I don't know what's the situation with that, but we want to get Mr. Lincoln Lewis back. You know, just like the regime, the internet sucks, and I don't mean any insult to our local Beyonce in Guyana, but the internet sucks big time. So my apologies for that. Lincoln Lewis is off. He is going to be back. The 3,000 plus persons that were fired by this vindictive, this racist PPP regime, they continue with that at every level. We see the sort of mishandling of COVID patients throughout the country, especially at the COVID-19 hospital at Liliendal. If you take a look at the ICU section of that hospital, it is overcrowded. I've heard of cases. I have heard of cases where patients have to sleep, but also while sleeping, they have to hold on to their oxygen mask, because if they don't, by the time they wake up, someone else will have it on their face, because they apparently are out of oxygen mask at the COVID-19 hospital. I don't know, but I thank those nurses and those doctors who are brave to be working there. Lincoln, we got cut off as I was about to ask about the foreign service officers. Some of them will be sent packing, some of them will be rotated. But are you concerned at all that a lot of them will be discriminated against? My apologies again, but I guess it is what it is with the internet service. It should get better sometime, right? I think it was on that the road of improving, but lots of things have basically declined. Lots of things have declined as of August 2nd, 2020, including the internet service. Because I recall right on this show, we had persons all the way in regions 2, region 7, region 9, all over. They were listening to us without any problems at all. None whatsoever at all. And so something is definitely wrong with the country right now, especially how it's being governed by these individuals who are only concerned about exportation of catfish and gilbaka. You're not hearing about exportation of casrip or maybe plantains or maybe coconut oil or maybe some other things. All remember when Mike Pompeo visited Guyana, the then disgraceful Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State, visited Guyana. The first and the only thing Irfan Ali asked that guy, that man, was to help Guyana lift something through the FDA so that they could export catfish. Now, Mike Pompeo doesn't have the authority to do it. He doesn't. But Mike Pompeo told him, oh, okay, I'll look into it. I'll look at it. Now, he doesn't want just catfish. He wants gilbaka to be exported. Back to Lincoln Lewis. I was talking about the Foreign Service officers. A lot of them would be sent packing. Some of them will be rotated and so forth. Do you see that as an opportunity that this installed regime will be targeting individuals?
Yes, they will. Mark, because what they've done is to reset they press the reset button, and they're doing the same thing they did in 1992. 1992 was a year when they came into power. They had Clement Roy. Clement Roy was the foreign minister who trekked around the world and dismissed foreign service officers at the end of time. Some had to go to court to get a benefit. I have seen one woman, one foreign service officer, it was Jacqueline Amer, who took them to court and won when many ran away. And she worked until her retirement. She was so proficient that on her retirement, they asked her to the same government that didn't want to pay her benefit, asked her to stay on. Right? I want to tell you this. They will do the same thing. And that's what they're doing. And I don't expect anything. I don't expect that the current minister
Seemed not to be a good night for the internet and Lincoln Lewis. I know he has a good plan. He has whatever big package from GT&T. He no longer has the $5,000 package, but for some reason we're losing him tonight. And you guys know I really don't like running the show like this, but that is all. And you could tell the mentality of Irfan Ali, whom, by the way, I have extended an invitation for him to come right here on this show. I've also extended an invitation to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Todd Todd, to come right here as well. I don't have a problem, none whatsoever. I don't have a problem interviewing them at all. And so Irfan, I know he watches this program. He's a big fan of Straight. I've extended an invitation to Irfan Ali. I sent that invitation via his press secretary, Ms. Suelle Findlay Williams. So don't be surprised if sometime during the coming week that Irfan Ali appears on this show, even though I doubt. But I don't want them to say that we do not invite them here. I have invited Irfan Ali to come on as a guest. And we treat our guests, all of our guests, with respect. But there's one thing though, I'll have a problem addressing him as Mr. President. I can address him as Mr. Ali. If he agrees to that, then he is free to come on this show. Mr. Utah, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, like I've said, I've invited him to come to clear the air on whether they will be targeting those individuals, those Foreign Service officers. Lincoln, you were saying something before you got kicked off. Go right ahead again.
Yeah, Mark. The point I'm making is that, look, I don't expect God to represent any, to represent the issue. Let me tell you about the PVP. The PVP, look at all the ministers who look like me. They are put in a position to make decisions or to carry out instructions that are partisan. They are the front. Let me look at the minister, look who they give labor. They give it to Hamilton for him to carry the can. And they will make the political decisions which unions and which set of workers they're going to destroy, and you can do nothing about it. You cannot do anything about it. The same thing will happen with Todd in there. And the Prime Minister, it's a pity. They were looking for Samine, but they got somebody that is a bit worse than Samine. That's what we have.
All right. Looking at the time, 39 minutes after 9 o'clock. Again, good evening to all of you. I actually did say to our listeners that I extended an invitation for Irfan Ali to appear on this show at any time. If he wants an hour, he gets an hour. If he wants 2 hours, he gets 2 hours. It's okay. We want to hear from them. And this is not going to be an easy walkover. It is not going to be an easy walkover. I noticed some of the catfish are getting angry. The trench crappos are getting angry. They're cursing up. They prefer to see Irfan goes on a show where he can rattle away without much sense by the host. But before we lose you, let us move on. We have lost Lincoln again. The interruption is it's not too healthy. It's just not too healthy. So I apologize to that again. Nothing at our end. We have paid all of our bills. All of our bills. I'm not saying Lincoln hasn't paid his bill, but the internet in Guyana, like the politics, especially from the regime, the installed regime, sucks. Beyonce from the West Bank, good evening if you're watching. I know your ordeal. I saw it all over social media, but the internet sucks. It sucks in Guyana. Let's move on to some other stuff. We've heard that. We've heard that.
Mark,
yes, sir.
Mark.
Yes, sir.
I have finished to tell you about the bishop who was chairman for the Ethnic Relation Commission. You remember the issue of King Gibson and the book? I talked to a commissioner who had a position against condemning this book, and I asked the commissioner if he had read the book. He never read it. But Eddie and the whole bunch of them voted for this thing to be taken off the shelf when the charge against the Gibson book that it created racial tension, and they could not have provided one from evidence where it is creating that. But they take it off the shelf. So what do you expect him to do now? He's going to go on the same path. That's what we have. And that's how these guys going to behave. They're not going to represent the interests of Guyanese. They will represent the interests of a few people who want to subjugate other groups in this society. That's my position. I don't expect Trump to do anything.
I got you.
Thank you, Mark.
Heard you loud and clear, Mr. Lincoln Lewis. Before we move on to some other political matters, this also is political. COVID-19, the vaccination, the regime, the installed regime, they're going basically in predominantly African Guyanese communities and offering 2 pieces of chicken for kids, for children to be vaccinated. What is your take on this position, sir? What is your take on that, Mr. Lewis?
Mark, I believe it's an insult to people. The issue here is that you need to convince people that the vaccine is good for them against the backdrop that where people are questioning, if I take the vaccine, if we take the vaccine, what are the likely consequences that we will not be strong and healthy tomorrow? People want to know that. You need to go down there and convince people. You have a situation right now, Mark, where you're not doing pre-screening. We have 2 adults, 2 elderly persons who died recently. And what the minister come out to say that they had underlying conditions, and it's not the vaccine killed them, it's the underlying conditions. So you didn't pre-screen them. So why is it that you're telling people to go and take vaccines? When the chief medical officer saying that some people who have this condition, underlying conditions, are excluded from this. But you're forcing people to go and do it. And I'm sure that these men went there. They want to pick up their pension and they want to go to the government agent to get a government pension. And people start saying, "Ready, if you don't vaccine, you won't get pension." But what we need is resistance. We need to resist imposition. Imposition that militates against the interests of the population. You know, I've seen a few weeks ago when they sent out a circular after a protest. They said we have consulted, the circular said we have consulted with the stakeholders and we have decided. Here again, they believe that if they consult, they have discharged their constitutional responsibility. The constitution of this country do not say that I must be consulted. The constitution says I must be involved in the decision-making process of the state. And that's what we need to look at. The constitution that we had before speaks to consultation. Even that they don't get right. This one says, I must be involved, Article 13. I must be involved. That's it. So, Mark and listeners, we have to change this thing. We are going to resist. We are going to go to court. I mean, this is the beginning of the march to the court with a number of them. A number of the decisions that we made by this government. We got to take it.
Let me ask you, We see that they're focusing on the nurses, the policemen, the GDF, the guys in the GDF, but they're not focusing on cane cutters, and they're not focusing on the Borbis, like the Port Brant Hospital, Mybe Curie Hospital, Skeldon Hospital, and so forth. They're not focusing in those areas at all. I've noticed a comment from a regular PPP guy in the previous program with Jordan Figueroa and Miss McDonald, Coretta McDonald. The guy said that cane cutters are not at risk because they're in the open air. And that's the mentality. Cane cutters are not at risk because they're not in the open air. But these very cane cutters have to be packed up like sardines in a cane cutting truck. But I guess the truck is in the air too. Your take on this obvious discriminatory practice by the PPP by only targeting predominantly African Guyanese for this forced mandatory vaccination, minus the chicken, the two-piece chicken, and all these things.
You have to understand that the PPP understand the history and struggles here. They understand that the struggle against slavery was a struggle that was carried by Africans. You go to the 1763 revolution, you come back to the revolt, come back to the Demerara revolt. You think of them. It was the Africans who fought. These are institutions that are filled with Africans. What they're intending, their mere intent is to destroy the indomitable spirit of the African man in this country. The way they intend to do is to humiliate them, is to beat them into subjection. That is the plan of the PPP. That's why they selected the nurses, because they're primarily African women. And you know, the women have always been playing a significant role in struggle. That is why they take the men in the army, humiliate them. That's why they take the police force, humiliate them again. If you want to eat from the $75,000 that you get per month, you will have to do what we tell you to do. This is a well orchestrated plan. It's a plan to destroy a people. It's a plan to destroy a people. As how the plan in the previous the plan in the 1992 to 2015, that plan of economic genocide that was conceptualized and implemented to destroy the economy of the African man. They are on it again. They have pressed the reset button. We're going to destroy them morally, destroy their spirit, and we take control of everything. That's it.
You know, we have, and this is what I want to fill the people in again, our listeners, that in no areas where, like, for example, region number 5, we have not heard of the gates locked for those hospitals and forced vaccinations and these sort of things. We have not heard that in region 6, Port Brant Hospital, the health center. We have not heard that in Blackbush Pola, Mybe Curie Hospital. We have not heard that at Skeldon Hospital, so forth and so on. All I'm saying to you folks, read between the lines. Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead, Lincoln.
You know, you have to, when you talk about these things, when people talk about these things, there are people who said you're talking about race.
Even our former quote unquote friend who supported us, who embraced us in all of the views that we have expressed during elections and after elections of 2021. The same guy, Freddie Kisuna.
You talking about your friend who Jack, you are taken to court. And when he was in front of the court, he run frantically to get all my writings on the issue to be used as his defense. You're talking about the same man, right?
Yes, Freddie Kisuna. And the same things that we are talking now, which is no different from what we spoke of before, and he embraced and he hugged us and he chatted and all these sort of things. These very things that you just mentioned, economic genocide and so forth, he's going to be cursing and saying that we are racist. We are being racist because of speaking the truth. But these are the very truth he embraced when he was with us. But continue.
Let me say to you, let me just clear the air for the listeners. Let me make it very clear my understanding of this issue. There is nothing wrong in a man defending the race that he has come from and advocate on behalf of his race. What is wrong is when a man can use opportunity to discriminate against a race in preference of his. Discriminate against a race in preference to his. We over the years have been talking about equal rights and justice. You must be treated equally. While some people say, who believe that they can demand that they be in charge and other persons and race be subjugated. We can't have that. I don't blame anyone from the Indian or Amerindian community who advance or argue to advance the rights of their community. But I say to everybody, don't tell me I shouldn't argue for the community that I come from. Charity starts at home. And if you can't defend your house, as a man, somebody will take charge of your wife and your children. And I'm not that man who will not stand up in defense of the groups that I come from. I'm not that man.
Sorry about that. The internet connection. Sorry.
Advance. Somebody play with me internet, you know, Mark. I believe so. I tell you something, I believe.
Yeah.
Every time I come on this program, something happens.
Yeah, something has happened indeed, but I just, you know, Lincoln.
Right.
Some people feel that some folks feel that they get the world of sense when they play the race card, when they write in their columns and so forth. But the war of words haven't started as yet, because I have a bag full of information. That when that bag full of information is let loose, it will be worse than a tsunami. It will be like a drought in the eyes of some of those very people It will put the tsunami to shame. Look, before we go, Lincoln, before we go, I want to ask you about this latest news that the leader of the People's National Congress Reform, Mr. David Granger, former president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, has stepped aside for now. We're not sure whether he's going to return. What is your take on this latest? Again, we have lost Mr. Lincoln Lewis. I just wanted him to wrap up on this particular part of the show to ask his opinion on this latest move. And if you're now joining us, Mr. Granger has stepped aside for now. He hasn't resigned. He just stepped aside for now. And Valda Lawrence, the chairman of the People's National Congress Reform, is the acting leader of the party, the acting leader of the People's National Congress Reform. Acting leader. We don't know where this is heading, but trust me, I have placed my political cap on, and I think I have an idea where it's heading. Mr. Lewis, your take on this latest development, please.
Well, I want to tell you this. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'll tell you, but which take you talk? Which development you're talking about? I saw you had Mr. Lawrence.
The fact that Mr. Granger is on leave, and the acting leader of the party is Ms. Valda Lawrence. What is your take on that?
I tell you what. When you take Mr. Granger, I want to tell you something. What you need to look at. I don't know why it's the game, but Mr. Granger took leave from the PNC as leader. Took leave from the leadership. But Mr. Granger is holding on to the APNU. The APNU AFC coalition. He didn't take leave from that, And that is the institution where the parliamentarians are. That is the institution that contested the election. So I am still asking myself, what's the game behind it? Is it that Mr. Granger saying that because you are criticizing me, I'm going to hand you the PNC? But if any one of the parliamentarians, of which who fall who come from the PNC into the APNU, should take a position to join with anybody in the PNC to criticize him, he who is leader of the list and chairman of the APNU for the coalition can take them out of parliament. I'm looking at all these things, need to be looked at. It is not over until all is over. I don't know what to do. That's it.
All right.
Yes, Mark.
Mr. Lincoln Lewis has reminded us that while Mr. Granger is on leave, he hasn't stepped down or anything, at least not yet. But I think I have a prediction, but I wouldn't say what my prediction is just yet. So if Miss Valda Lawrence is now the acting leader of the party, I'm not sure, I don't know whether Mr. Granger will contest the elections whenever that elections is held through the party's Congress. But what takes for a while is that someone tonight is not comfortable, and that is my friend, Aubrey Norton. I don't think he's comfortable with this move, but we're not here to talk about that. And the other bit of information that I've heard is that the leader of the opposition, Mr. Harman, will be away for maybe a week or 2 or maybe 3. And this guy, senior counsel, Roysdale Ford, this is what I've heard, mind you. I don't want you guys to run away with this as the gospel truth, that Roysdale Ford will act as the leader of the opposition. As soon as this show is over, I'm going right back to the drawing board. Mr. Lewis, 2 more questions or 1 more question before your closing remarks. Schools reopening. What is your take on that? Because Priya Manichan seemed bent on reopening schools and straying from the truth to say that 50% teachers with no statistics, nothing at all, that 50% teachers have been vaccinated. That doesn't seem to be the truth at all. Your take, Mr. Lewis.
The government don't run with stats, man. This government don't run with stats. Even development is how they feel. You are talking of a lady who I don't want to criticize her, but let me make this point. If she could have gone into the other halls of the National Assembly and holler for rape when nobody was raping her, it tells you the character of the person you are dealing with. This is the only country in the Caribbean that has not embraced what we call an hybrid system in addressing the whole question of reopening of schools. What they have done is everything is bullying. Bullyism. We want it this way, and this is the way it must be. The question of engagement and involvement and having ideas shared between and among people is not necessary for them. It's a worrying situation. I'll tell you something, Mark. What's saving us is show like this and the plethora of online programs that we have today. If we had them, God forgive me, it would have been physical genocide against some section of the society. I'm telling you. So what Manichan is doing is not something that is unexpected. That's how they will behave. But notwithstanding that, we must stand up against these transgressions and violations. We must protect this society from people who don't care. And that's what all of us are here for.
That's exactly what all of us are here for.
Brother.
Yep, thank you. Just a reminder that she's part of a regime, an installed regime that doesn't know better. When you have a man who's supposedly heading that regime, Irfan Ali is only concerned about exportation of catfish and gilbaka. Catfish and gilbaka. That is all he's concerned about. Catfish and gilbaka mindset. I don't know, he hasn't spoken about exportation of chicken, but he's just talking about catfish and gilbaka. Mr. Lincoln Lewis, during your closing remarks here now, if there's anything that I failed, any question that I haven't asked you that you believe is important enough that you want to discuss, feel free during your closing remarks, sir. Go ahead.
Let me tell you something, Mark. Let me tell from the outset. You see this discriminatory way that they go about these cash grants. You know, for instance, Kokwani. Last weekend they shared the cash grant for farmers who have lost crop. The biggest farmer in Kokwani, where you have children when they are doing the FBA, where they are being taken by the teacher to go and look at what is taking place, get information. That farmer was excluded from the list. I know the conclusion. No one knows what is his political persuasion. But he lives in a house that paints in green. Some people believe, and the people who did this list are people who are virtually his neighbors. But they are supporters and activists of the PDP. All over the place, you're on quarantine. I'm being called. My phone is being called so often to be told that there are people who get paid for using their pumps to drain areas, and those people don't have pumps. They never pump any water. There are people who pick up like millions of dollars and they lost everything. My concern is that the government needs to be fair to people and be just in its activity. You can't be using the taxpayers' dollars. Even if you borrow it, the taxpayers got to pay it back. You can't do that to people. We have to stop this thing. Do not continue to behave like buccaneers. We have to do something else about it. I'm concerned, Mark. With these words, Mark, I say good night. And thank you for inviting me. Good night to the listeners. I will ask that I will ask you again, Mark, when you don't have anybody, call me. I have so much to talk about. We have so much.
You have a tsunami. You have a tsunami of information to let loose upon the nation, and I have a bagload of stuff to let loose as well. Bring it on. How is the Village Voice? How is the Village Voice, sir?
The Village Voice is moving on. We're going to make it with all the challenges that are there. There is no room for failure. There are people who thought that we were folded up by now. We are not going to do. We still have goodwill and we have friends who want to see us live. I want to ask people to support the Village Voice. You have to support it because it belongs to people. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the village. It belongs to the citizens. This is not a paper to carry the propaganda for any government, any political party. This is to hold people who are being paid or using state funds accountable, regardless of the circumstance. Mark, thank you for giving us a plug with the Village Voice.
Thank you.
While you may say that it's your duty.
Yeah. All the best to all of your workers.
We are very grateful for the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
Come out and get your Village Voice on Sunday. Come and get it.
Yeah.
You know, this weekend here, I believe Sunday morning, I'm going on in Region 6. It's my intention to go to Region 6 to sell Village Voice.
Go out there,
so
Lincoln.
You will call your friends up there. We need more vendors.
J.R. Crawford, if you're listening.
Get some new vendors.
And others.
In every village, the voice must be there.
Thank you so much, Lincoln, for your time. And thank you for all that you do for Guyana.
Which Crawford you talking? Which Crawford you talking to?
J.R. Crawford.
Ask him. Ask the boys. Yes, ask them to do something. I'll be happy. Yeah.
Thank you. I got a good friend who wants your papers too. Lemon, if he's watching. All right. Lemon, he's a cook. He's a good cook. Thanks for your time, Lincoln.
Well,
Thanks
I
for
would
your
like
time.
to have I would like to have a competition with him because I am a good cook too, you know, man.
Thank you. Have a good night, sir. Thank you, Lincoln. Lincoln Lewis there for you guys. Wonderful human being. Go out and support the Village Voice this weekend. Get a copy. He's heading to Region 6. J.R. Crawford, Vidna, and others, you folks out in Region 6, help to push the Village Voice. It is only $140. 140 Guyana dollars. Oh, man. Y'all support a newspaper that actually believes in your interest, that when you open it, when you read it, it's about you. It's about your communities. Don't pick up the papers when you read it as bare hogwash and they're pulling your black leaders down and they're dividing the nation and all of these things they're writing out of emotions and all sort of nonsense. Support a paper that have your back, your best interest at heart. The Village Voice, the voice for the people, the paper for the people. Hey, guess what? I got something for you guys this evening. She wants to reopen schools, despite the fact that COVID-19 people are dying wild west in Guyana. And she wants to put your children, your teachers, and other staff members of the schools at risk. You can go and check out the conditions of the schools, the classrooms, the bathrooms, every single thing. Go check it out. This woman doesn't care. She doesn't give a damn about the students. She doesn't give a damn about the teachers. She doesn't give a damn about people in general. Hence tonight, guess what she is? She is our recipient of the Donkey Award. All right, the funny thing is people, some of these trench crappos, they come with fictitious names and they say, oh, comments are distasteful. This is distasteful and whatever. You want to know what distasteful means? Go, when you get off this show, just jump in a minibus or jump in your private car if you have one and head across the bridge, the river, and go and ask Beyonce. Hey, some comment is distasteful. I don't know what comment is distasteful. Hey, this guy, this guy, Catfish and Gilbaca guy, the Catfish and Gilbaca guy. I know he's watching. Feel free to come on the show and talk about your Catfish. Baca. Feel free to come on it. But hey, I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. God bless you all, and God bless our beautiful country. Hey, Catfish and Gilbaca, this is for you.
Somebody's pussycat, it's away and it's causing a mess. Somebody's pussycat, it's away and it's running a mess. Somebody's pussycat, it's away and it's behaving bad. Somebody's pussycat, it's away and it's driving them mad. They want me to hold it down. You must hold it down. You want me hold it down. You must.
You want to hold it down. Cat. Get the cat. Get the cat. Catfish, guys. God bless you all, man. Remember, COVID-19 is real. Be safe. Protect yourselves. Protect your family. Protect your friends. Protect the people you're around. And to all those folks who are suffering right now as the result of the COVID-19, my prayers are with you. or whatever you're suffering from, my prayers are with you, all of you. Until tomorrow, same place, same time. Tata. Or leave you with, what's this guy's name again? Psycho Andrews. This was the famous song right here on 107.1 FM on Straight Up. Tata.
It's hard to be at peace with the ones who are so discard. It's hard. Them have a knife in your back and them smile it so broad. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. I never want to take your glory, Lord. Send your angels to encamp around about me and stand guard. To envy is so easy and to love it is so hard. Let me work for your glory and not for the award. Don't make me ever get caught up in the scream and the applause. And go talk about the blessing and not talk about the Lord. All these things are vanity. I need your reward. Let me be real. Don't put on no facade. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. Sticks and stones can break my bones and words can harm me. They can harm me. When the evil come against me, you'll protect me. You'll protect me. Father, I need the strength of your son. Cause you know my work is not done. Lord, I need that endurance just to finish this race that I run. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. And help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd are shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefield. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. You tell me if you stand firm. Cause every little plan you have a confirm. I know them evil plan turn. In a darkness me a the lantern. So help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Jesus, help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Help me on the battlefild. Cause the booby traps with them set is real. Help me to deal with the ones them who said them love me when them really don't. Help me to deal with the fans them kill me flesh when the crowd a shout. Jesus, help me on the battlefield. Jesus, help me on the battlefield.